What's good, everybody? You already know that I discuss topics with you as I come to a conclusion of a question to objectively, basically concerned with the situation. The question, what was he going with 50,000 to buy? He had 50,000 exactly, right? What was he going there to pick up? Now, most of motorcycles pricing is between 12,000 and about, let's say, about 15, 16,000. Some of the four-wheelers maybe were maxed like around 22 to 25,000. What was he going with 50,000 exactly for? When we get money out, we get a roundabout, even if we're rounding up. Let's say he's rich and he's rounding up. What would he be riding with that much cash to go to a place and he didn't make a purchase? When you get money out, you're going presuming a purchase. Why didn't he make a purchase? This is what brings me back to the mastermind. Listen, he had 50,000. He didn't make a purchase. Only the mastermind could convince a man not to spend the money that they planned to spend. So if he went to this store, he planned to make some type of purchase, right? But then he said to himself, look, I'm not going to make a purchase of any sort. I'm not going to do this because I don't want to make a purchase. What convinced them not to make a purchase? Let's say that you're in there and you're a client, because Reva Motorsports said he was family. That means they would have convinced him to buy something. Why would they dissuade him to buy from their store if he came in with that much cash? There's only one person that could have convinced them not to buy, and this had to be the mastermind. Now, I've been also doing some research into the incident that involved his girlfriend. And this is very synonymous with what's going on, in particular because, you know, there was felony charges placed against them for this incident. That's why I mention this. There were several thousands donated to her, and I actually have the evidence. So my thing is about this whole case, it doesn't really make sense. If I go with 50,000 cash, I'm going to buy something. I'm not just riding around with 50,000 cash. That's not the norm. That's not the usual. We don't just do that. So that means I had something in mind that I was looking to spend it on. And if I wouldn't, there had to be some circumstance that would allow me not to. Now, being that he drove there in his Benz, I don't think he was going to purchase for himself. So why would he go in, not make a purchase, leave? Who was in the car with him? Why do we have to keep asking this? Why isn't this information released? And they're rushing 4 men in for an indictment, which very much so makes it look like a setup on not even the suspect's end, but the legal end. Why are you rushing these 4 men into an indictment when you don't even know who was in the car with him, or you're not even addressing who was in the car with him? None of this is really making sense. All of this is very sketchy. And when I'm looking at the details surrounding the case, why is it that there's so many discrepancies dealing with how his murder scene was set up? So we seen the pictures when the witness took it. He didn't look right in the car. We seen the picture of where his car was. The gate was still open when it's a automatically or a controlled closing gate to some type of standard. What was the case that set it up? There's multiple variables here. And when you have variables in a case, why aren't investigators asking these questions? Why don't you care? It's almost like you guys are making conclusions without caring about any of the surrounding speculation. You have a lying witness that got on national television. You have a bag of cash that was boasted on social media by individuals. One of them who was not even included in the video. I'm not getting this. None of this is making sense. Is this... Are these the 4 fall guys? Could I have been wrong? See, initially I thought there was 1 fall guy. Could all 4 of these men be fall guys for some other mastermind plot that involves not only the passenger, but literally Tentacion himself? There's a lot of things that aren't making sense, yet I never seen law rush to an indictment so fast with so little evidence. It's like, even if you are going to persecute these men and you have the evidence to persecute them, you haven't revealed security camera, and two, you don't even know who was beside him in the car, or you're not even saying that person normally would be a witness too. So how come they're just quiet about it? It's like, and remember, when this case first happened, we seen a lot of men get on the internet and brag about having done this to Tentacion like it was some trophy or award. Almost, it seems to throw off the case. The one guy with the mask they were claiming was lying. Why would he get on and lie about having killed someone? And I'm not saying he was telling the truth, but why would a alleged cover-up even be proclaimed? Who would get on in the right mind and proclaim it? We've never seen it. Think about this. When all our legendary superstars were taken from us by some form of violence, no one ever stood up and joked about having done that to them. Matter of fact, he's not even a legend in my mind, objectively, opinionally, thought-wise, because he basically was passed before he could even put out the artwork or the catalog to be considered some type of legend. But think about this. Objectively, always. Why would a person joke about having done that to him? And say evidence is like, oh, he's not telling the truth. What motive did he have to get up and do it? Let's presume if it's not evidence that's fact, then it's a cover-up. There's only two ways it could be. Either it's fact or someone's doing it, and you can say it's for clout, but who wants the clout of revenge on their back for a crime they didn't commit? It makes no sense. That's not sensible. So now we're going to get into what it could be. What if these videos of guys saying they did it was used to cover up the true identity and, let's say, the true speculation of admittance of someone else? So what I'm saying is, out of all these cover-ups, someone was telling the truth. And I believe all these people that hopped on social media and verbally was saying things. Now remember, it's none of the suspects. All they did was flash money. All they did was brag about having the funds. None of it had anything to do with them having the financial gain of any sorts. Verbally saying, oh, I took this money from such and such. They put it out there on Twitter, but they were flashing money, and that's what brought attention to them. What about the people who were claiming to have done this to them? What if one of them were objectively people who were of interest, and one of them was the mastermind? That would make sense that not everybody saying that they did it is a cover-up. That wouldn't be possible, because we've seen many people reaching for clout. Somebody had to be telling the truth. And the first place to start would be closest to home. So someone who was closest related to him and around him had to be telling the truth at some point in time. And I'm not even saying that it had to. But out of all these individuals that stood up and said, I did it, they had to be involved somehow. There has to be a fifth person. Who was riding in the car with him? How come we're not seeing any more evidence related to that? These 4 convictions are going to happen, and then it's going to be a job well done. Even when it's not being expressed, he was riding with certain people at a certain point in time. None of this makes sense. And that's what I'm saying. When things are unsensible to this level, that always presumes deeper evidence. So I don't get what you guys are feeding me, but I actually threw it all away. Somebody's lying. And like I tell you, I read everything thoroughly. Don't think I'm like these other black men. You can just hand something to them or read it and I'm going to go with it. Nah, I read everything thoroughly and I deduce what makes sense. That's why you can't play with me. There is a fifth man. And who would do these things for clout? I thought about it. I'm like, who would get up? Because you don't know if retaliation is coming your way or not. Even if you did do it for clout, who would want that type of clout? To have retaliation on their back, to get mass notice from someone because they're presuming they were involved in something. Why is there so many subliminals around Tentacion's passing? These things are usually not this subliminal. There's so many subliminals from different artists beforehand and after. I'm not really getting it. There is a higher purpose involved in this situation, and I'm not getting that. I'm not just feeling those security cameras need to come out. That would tell the story. If those security cameras drop at that moment, if we think of everything that I had released and all the details we read, I think it's all going to make sense. Something's not right in this situation. Also, beforehand, this situation, he was facing multiple felonies for doing that to his girlfriend. Now, that's not alleged because it was pressed charges against him. Why does all this have to happen after charges are pressed against him? I'm not understanding that. So he was in a bad situation, and then he gets, let's say, philosophical and leads himself into a worse situation that gets more subliminals and things that come out afterwards. It's all very weird. It's all very weird. And the way law is acting around reasoning of not releasing more evidence for the public, it makes no sense. None of it makes sense. I seen you release in worse cases. I had a case I did earlier where you released a couple that overdosed in their car, released with their kid in it. You released all the photos, and it happened down there. You can't get me. Listen, I've been studying a lot of stories for a long time. I know what you have done in the past. This makes no sense. Don't worry, we're going to get to it. All rights reserved.